Okay, here we go again. So I know everybody's focused on the president's speech tonight about border security and the humanitarian crisis at the southern border. But I want to talk about something because we'll talk about that on the show tonight. But I want to talk about something else that's in the news that I don't think is getting enough coverage. And the coverage that it's getting is focused on the conservative reaction to it. And the news is this headline says Mayor Bill de Blasio, that's the mayor of New York City, announces guaranteed health care for all New Yorkers, including illegal immigrants. And those on the right are going kind of nuts because they're clearly concerned about the cost of this program. They're concerned about the fact that he's going to require the taxpayers of the city of New York to not only provide universal health care for everybody, but also to provide universal health care for those people who are not even citizens of the city of New York. And California Governor Gavin Newsom is proposing the same thing that Mayor de Blasio is proposing. And most people on the right are vehemently opposed to this. They give you all the right arguments about why you should be opposed to it. You're going to have reduced healthcare outcomes. You're going to have a reduced quality of health care. You're going to have skyrocketing costs. You're going to have skyrocketing taxes or skyrocketing deficits because there's simply no way to pay for this without raising taxes and without rationing health care. That's what we've seen happening in all of the countries that everybody touts, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez when she talks about she wants socialized medicine like they have in Finland or Sweden or Norway or the United Kingdom. Well, if you know anything about what's going on in those countries, people are beginning to reel that back in because they know they can't afford it. I said on the program last night, we had a story out of Canada where a study of the Canadian healthcare system in Ontario shows that the average wait time in an emergency room just to be admitted is 16 hours. Not to see a doctor, but to be admitted. Now, can you imagine in the United States, now, maybe if it's a weekend in Chicago after a bunch of shootings, you might wait 16 hours in an ER there. But in most places in the United States, you can actually go online and private hospitals will show you, oh, our ER wait time is 12 minutes, our ER wait time is 30 minutes, our ER wait time is 6 minutes, or our ER wait time is 0 minutes. And you can choose which emergency room you want to go to. Well, in Ontario, you don't have that choice. In the United Kingdom, you have the problem that the National Health Service is actually running out of money. They can't afford to continue to pay for the health care for everybody that's in the United Kingdom. So what have they started to do? They've started to put off surgeries. They've started to refuse surgeries. They've started to refuse treatments. They are beginning to ration health care. And that's simply because socialized medicine, just as you do socialized anything, never works. It always fails. It always eventually turns into a Cuba, a Soviet Union. It turns into a Nazi Germany. It turns into a Venezuela. It turns into a communist China. It turns into any of these tyrannical forms of government because socialism is just one of the first steps on the way to tyranny. So I get all of the arguments that conservatives are making about why this is crazy about what Bill de Blasio is doing in New York or that Gavin Newsom is doing in California. But I'm all for it. I want them to do it. I don't live in California. I don't live in New York. So I say go for it. You know, what we often forget in this country, because we've become so enamored and we've become so accustomed to the federal government being the be all and end all, that we forget that this country is a republic. This country is based upon 50 states, 50 sovereign states. And those states give up limited enumerated powers to the federal government. And all other powers are reserved to the states, and those powers not reserved to the states are reserved to the people. So the federal government is just an appendage of the 50 state governments. The founding fathers believed that the state should be the laboratories where there are experiments about public policy. So if one state wants to try something, that state is entitled to do so. That state can try whatever public policy that it wants to try. And I'm all for that. I would rather see states try these things than the federal government try it nationally, and then we all end up paying for it. So when it comes to what Mayor de Blasio is doing in New York City, providing guaranteed health care for New York City citizens and non-citizens, I say go for it, Mr. Mayor. Go for it. Because I want you to be the experiment that shows the rest of the country how socialized medicine fails. Now, I got friends that live in New York City, and I feel sorry for them because they're the ones that are going to have to bear the brunt of those electoral choices that people make in New York City. But you know what? That's the way it is. They elected this avowed communist as a mayor, and now he wants to implement socialized medicine. So let them do it. Let them show the rest of the country how socialized medicine doesn't work. I promise you this. We can come back, now it depends on when he implements this, but we can come back in 6 months, a year, or 2 years, and we can see that, yes, healthcare outcomes have been reduced. We can see that the quality of healthcare has been reduced. We can see that the taxes have had to either skyrocket or the deficits have skyrocketed. We're going to see that the cost of healthcare has skyrocketed. Every time the government takes over a program, you can be guaranteed of two things. That program will balloon like some sort of metastatic cancer, and the cost of that program will start out, even when they make an estimate. Let's just pull a figure out of the air. Let's say that they think this is going to cost $1 billion the first year. Well, once they implement it, after the first year, we'll find out that the actual real cost of the first year will be double that or triple that. Every government program ends up costing more than what people say it's going to cost when they implement it. So I'm all for, I get the conservatives making the argument about this is an awful thing to do. The people of New York City are going to suffer. The people of California are going to suffer. Well, you know what? I would rather the people of California suffer and show us how bad of an idea this is. I would rather the people of New York City figure out that this avowed communist is shoving this down their throats and let them bear the cost. Let them be the laboratories. Let them show the rest of the country why this is a bad idea. So you're not going to hear me, you'll hear me explain why it's a bad idea, but you're never going to hear me say, don't do this. The people of New York City elected this guy. The people of California elected Gavin Newsom. They told you what they wanted to do. The people said that's what they wanted. So I say give it to them. Give it to them in California. Give it to them in New York. And then we can learn from their mistakes. And hopefully, probably wishful thinking on my part, we will figure out, oh, this is a bad idea and we shouldn't do it. So maybe you've got a new governor in your state. We've got a new governor here in Colorado. He's a progressive. He's a far lefty guy. He claims that he's going to govern from the center, but I don't believe it. And I wouldn't be surprised if a Democrat-controlled legislature, I wouldn't be surprised if this Democrat governor doesn't come up with something similar in Colorado. I don't want to be an experiment. I don't want to be a laboratory. So I say New York, go for it. I say California, go for it. And let's see what happens there. And then we can decide, oh yeah, this is a really bad idea. Let's not go down this path nationally. So watch New York, watch California, and learn the lessons that socialized medicine never works. Talk to you later.